It's such a beautiful joy to be with you all this evening for you, this morning for me. And I'm so glad to hear, really so deeply touched to hear about the way that you've been bringing your community together to really dive into the teachings of our scriptures. And this is what's needed today. As you mentioned in my introduction, I've now been here in India, living on the banks of Mother Ganga for now it's more than 27 years. And throughout that time, I've had this great blessing of traveling back to the US where I'm from, to Canada, to Europe, to England, to so many places around the world. And what I've seen is in the early days, going back 25, 27 years, when I had the blessing of traveling with Puja Swamiji, Puja Swami Chidanand Saraswati Ji Maharaj, I noticed that there was such an eagerness, a longing, a yearning from Indians living abroad to assimilate, to acculturate, to kind of be more American or be more Canadian or be more British. And in that, there was a sense of a loss in so many ways of some of the real depth of our culture. And one of the things that I've seen over the last several years that's made me so happy is really a beautiful resurgence in that commitment, that anchoring, that grounding, that deep interest in going back into our culture, into the scriptures, into the teachings, not just upar say, not just Kichelo Diwali is there, let us do Diwali puja, but actually the depth of the teachings. And it's made me really, really just overjoyed and filled with such appreciation for the way that all of you have over the years found this beautiful way of both succeeding and thriving fantastically in the West while simultaneously staying really deeply anchored, really deeply grounded in your culture and tradition and sanskaras. And what I can tell you is that it's this, excuse me, it's this that actually brings you the happiness and the peace that you're looking for in life, as I think you're all now realizing. In the beginning, it seemed that the indoctrination of Western society was sort of trying to convince everyone, leave behind the culture, just make a lot of money, just get ahead, just make sure that your kids go to the right college, just make sure that you're living in the right area of town and you've got a big house and you've got a big car. And so many people did that. And then we realized as the years went by, oh my God, what have we lost in that? And it's not that the house is the problem or the car is the problem. Have it, no problem. As long as we don't give up that deep, deep, deep connection. And so having the opportunity to be with you and knowing that you all gather weekly to really dive deep into the teachings of the scriptures, the teachings of Dharma, I've had to live that in our life. It makes me just so deeply happy, and I'm so glad to be with you. And today we're talking about living Dharma in the modern world. So we've read the Bhagavad Gita. We know what Bhagawan Krishna is teaching us in Kurukshetra. We know what these teachings are in a battlefield thousands and thousands of years ago. But what about today? What does that mean? What does that mean for us today? And interestingly, what you'll find is that the teachings that Bhagawan Krishna gave to Arjuna, gave to us rather, through Arjuna, are exactly the same teachings we need today. When we say Sanatan Dharma, that's Sanatan, that word that means eternal. It's not only eternal in time. It doesn't mean only it was true 5,000 years ago and it's true today, but it also is eternal in space. It is just as true in Los Angeles, in New York, in Toronto, in Vancouver, in London, in Tokyo, in Paris, as it was in Kurukshetra. And so bringing that Dharma into our world really is just about taking these eternal teachings and asking ourselves, what does that mean in our life today? I had somebody just last night in satsang. Each evening after the sacred Ganga Arati, I have this beautiful blessing and privilege opportunity to lead the satsang. And just last night, somebody asked me, with all of the challenges of the modern world, how can we not get angry? And I mention it here because what the question implied when it was asked is that things in the world are such that we cannot help but get angry. Matlab kare kya? Obviously we're going to be angry. Dekho kya ho raha hai? Look what's happening. And this idea that somehow we are puppets in the hands of the companies, the corporations, the media, the society, the community, that somehow holding on to the depth of who we are, living dharmically, that somehow that is this extraordinary, unprecedented challenge today. But the truth is, even though the situation is different, the teaching is the same. And the core situation is the same. Bhagawan Krishna gives us the answer in one line. I mean, he gives 700 verses of exquisite answers. But one line for me, when you think about living Dharma and bringing it into our lives, into the world, when he teaches us, Mam nu smart yudhyacha. Very simple. Very simple. Mam nu smart yudhyacha. Remember me and fight the war. Bas itni hai. It's actually that simple. Meaning, do your duty. Staying anchored in Dharma does not mean you don't get up and go to work. Doesn't mean you don't serve. Doesn't mean that you don't contribute. Of course you do. Living Dharma doesn't mean we just sit here with our eyes closed in meditation, or we just sit here doing japa all day long. Arjun says to Krishna, forget it. Chorda. I'm going to go off into the mountains. I'll become a sadhu. I'll live in a cave. I'll just meditate. And Bhagawan Krishna basically says, not so fast. No, you won't. That is not your Dharma. Your Dharma is right here, right now, bringing back Dharma. But do not lose yourself. Because what happens is when we engage in action, engage in karma, especially that action that we know is right, that we know is dharmic, that we know is spiritual action. It's our seva, our karma yoga, or all of those things that we are doing in the community, in the mandir, in our families that we know are that, which are good and righteous. We tend to lose sight of who the real doer is, right? We get all of this kind of spiritual ego going that says, I'm the one doing all of the seva. I'm the one doing this volunteer work. I'm the one who made this happen. I'm the one holding this community together. I'm the one holding the temple together. I'm the one. Submitive Ajasi. And this is where Bhagawan Krishna gives it so perfectly. Mam nu smart. Remember me. Yes, fight the war. But remember me. Meaning, number one, remember that I am actually the doer, you are not the doer. The doing is happening through you, but I am the doer. And remember me also means, on that deeper level, remember that ultimately, this is Leela, this is my Leela. You are here in this particular incarnation, for this particular amount of time, playing this very specific role on this particular stage that I have created. Don't get so high on yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't get wrapped up in your own ego so much. Don't worry so much how people see you, how they talk to you, how they respect you. Otherwise, we get very worked up about it. Samne wale kaise baat kar rahe humse. They treating us with respect, not respect. Hamare baat mante hain, nahi mante hain. And we get really worked up about it, as though somehow us getting what we deserve, whether it's the respect, whether it's the love, whether it's the acclaim, whether it's the money, whether it's the success, all of that, we get so wrapped up in thinking that that is what it's all about. I didn't get the raise, I didn't get the promotion, he got it, but that's not fair. I work 10 times as hard as he does. Why did he get the promotion? And Bhagawan Krishna reminds us, remember me, meaning not just remember Krishna, but remember that this is all my Leela. Don't get so wrapped up in it. Don't get so stuck. Remember, you're just playing a role. Play it well. Play it sincerely. Play it fully. Yudhyacha, fight the war with the best that you have. Do the best you have. Give it your fullest. But remember this is just my Leela. And this for me is really the core way of not only bringing Dharma into our life, but bringing peace, bringing happiness, bringing success. Because we've got these definitions of success that to me are all wrong. If you say, oh, very successful person, what does it mean? Well, to most of us these days, sadly, it means they make a lot of money. It means they've got a big house, they've got a bunch of cars, they wear really expensive clothes. Bada Admi. But if you actually go back, Bada Admi was not the rich guy in the community. Bada Admi was the one. Jisme gyan hai. The one with the wisdom. The one with the clarity, the one with the depth, the one with the piety. Bhagwan ka Admi. Those two were synonymous. Bhagwan ka Admi, Bada Admi. Same. Today we've lost that. Today we've gotten into this idea that success is just what we achieve. And the dilemma, of course, with this is that as we achieve more and more, we actually lose so much. We're taking antidepressants, we're taking anti-anxiety medicine. People have started drinking, using drugs, fighting in the families, scrolling aimlessly on social media because we're frustrated, we're bored. We're losing ourselves. We're gaining everything, but we're losing ourselves. Mahatma Gandhiji said so beautifully, what is the point of that fast speed that has no direction? And Dharma brings us back into the direction. Dharma says, do not lose yourself. Hey, remember, it's not about the speed. It's about the direction. Dharma reminds us that we are here to live according to our deep truth. And if we do, we are protected. Yes, challenges happen, of course. There's no scripture. There's no kata. There's no guru I know who ever says, if you are spiritual, bad things won't happen. Chant God's name, do puja, do meditation, read the Gita, and nothing bad will ever happen. Kahini likawai. The nature of nature is that people get sick. People die. You get fired from your jobs. Houses burn down. Earthquakes happen. Tsunamis happen. Hurricanes happen. Life happens. It's the nature of nature. But what we are assured by all of the scriptures is meditate. Do your japa. Read the scriptures. Be spiritual. And although life will happen, life will go up and down, but you will not. You will stay anchored and grounded. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. When we protect Dharma, Dharma protects us. When we commit to Dharma, live according to Dharma, that Dharma protects us. When I first came to Rishikesh, very beginning, I was 25 years old. I had a very, very good Western education, but I didn't know anything about Sanatan Dharma, anything about India other than that they make very good vegetarian food. And Puja Swamiji gave me a beautiful mantra in the beginning. And the mantra was, engage yourself in karma under the shade of Dharma with an awareness of Brahma. And it was simple, it was easy, it was mostly in English. And he gave me this as the way, first of all, of teaching me what karma and dharma and Brahma meant, but also in really helping me understand what our Dharma teaches. Engage yourself in karma. Again, this is yudhyacha, fight the war. Do your duty. This is not the time for anyone to sit this one out. The world situation right now needs all hands on deck. The hunger, the poverty, the human rights abuses, the homelessness, the crime, the violence, the war, climate change, environmental destruction. It needs all of us fully engaged. So engage yourself in karma. Don't sit this one out. I remember growing up in Los Angeles back in the 80s. There was a really big thing that people would say, which was, don't be a human doing, be a human being. You're not a human doing, you're a human being. And it was really just an excuse to basically lie at the beach all day and do nothing. I remember when I was a teenager, my friends would say, or they would read it somewhere. We didn't have social media at that time, but kahina kahin, they would hear it. They'd say, we're not human doings. Relax. Just lie on the beach. Come to the party. Watch the movie. Don't worry. Just be. But that's not actually the teaching. The teaching is not forsake doing in order to be. And the Bhagavad Gita makes that abundantly clear. The Ramayana makes that abundantly clear. The entire Mahabharata makes it abundantly clear. The Upanishads make it abundantly clear. All of our scriptures that are giving us specific teachings make it very clear. We are not meant to push away doing. But what we are meant to do is bring being into doing. So we're doing, but we are being. Remember me and fight the war. There's a beautiful line in our prayers here at PARMARTH NIKETAN every morning that I love that says, Mukhome horamna, Ram seva hatme. On our lips, we are chanting God's name. And in our hands, we are doing God's work. Same teaching, just a different author, different time. So engage yourself in karma, righteous action, right action, selfless action, under the shade of Dharma. Well, when we speak about Dharma in this way, we've got really two aspects of Dharma, and they're both equally important. One is what you could call the universal Dharma. This is the do's and don'ts of a good life. They actually line up perfectly with the yam and niyam of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Right? Live in non-violence, ahimsa. Live truthful lives. Don't hoard, don't steal. Be a good person. Live with generosity, live with compassion, live with purity. Right? This is what you would call universal Dharma. If you say this is a very dharmic person, it means that they live in honesty, in sharing, in caring, in selflessness. But then we also have our individual Dharma. And that's just as important. Bhagawan Krishna gave this teaching to Arjuna because Arjuna's Dharma as a kshatriya, as a warrior, was to fight. Each of us has individual Dharma. We've come onto this earth, our individual jivatma, with our individual karmic package, our individual sukshma sharir, our subtle bodies, our minds, our intellect, our ego, all of that has traveled with us from lifetime to lifetime. We are here to work that out. We're here to become free. And not everybody is going to become free, engaged in exactly the same actions, in the same way, living the same life. And this is where recognizing your own individual Dharma is so important. And of course, we have so many Dharmas in our life. We have the Dharma as a child to our parents, the Dharma of a parent to our children, the Dharma of a husband or a wife if we are married. We have the Dharma in our community, in our society. We have our Dharma in our careers and our professions. We have different Dharma at different ages of life, right? In our brahmacharya ashram phase, our Dharma is study, study, study. In our grihastha ashram phase, if you go that way, our Dharma is have a family, earn a living, contribute to society, raise your children well. Then we have our vanprastha ashram, and the Dharma there is let go. Let go. Start to free yourself from that Maya. They'll take care of themselves. Start to re-anchor, refocus yourself inward. And then, of course, sannyas, ashram dharma. Whether you take it at the end of life, whether you take it early in life, that dharma of the full renunciation, not of the world, not of action, but of the attachment to the world, the attachment to the individual aspects. In sannyas, it's not that we abandon the family. It's that the entire world becomes the family. It's that instead of the family being just 2 or 3 or 4, it's that we let go of that identification and we embrace the entire world as family, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So in the midst of all of that, your universal dharma, your individual dharma of the different roles and relationships, your dharma based on the phases of life. In addition to all of that, we all also have our individual dharma, that we are here to unfold our gifts, our longing, our inclination. And it's really important that we honor that, because we're not all built the same way. We don't all come onto earth with the same karmic package, with the same opportunities, with the same skills, with the same abilities, with the same personality types. In the same way, if you study Ayurveda, an Ayurvedic doctor is going to say, oh, you've got too much pitta. Here's how you live. Here's how you eat. You have a tendency toward vata. Here's how you eat. Here's how you live. But in our dharma, we're not just 3 different doshas. It's an infinite number of different ways of manifesting. And it's so important to give ourselves the freedom to actually live that and not to try to always become. Jo samne wala ko acha lagega. Right? We lose so much of our lives. Samne wale ko kush karne mein. Wo kya sochenge, wo kya sochenge, wo kya kahenge. And we lose our lives, we lose our peace, we lose our happiness, and we lose the opportunity to embrace our dharma. I remember when I had come to India on what I thought was just a short trip with a backpack, just an adventure. But when I discovered and realized that this is where I was meant to be, when I went back and I told everyone that I was moving back to India, people told me, you're crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. You will regret it. Finish your PhD, get yourself settled, make a name for yourself. Then you want to take 1 or 2 years and do some kind of Peace Corps situation. They said, no problem. But don't do it now. They hadn't realized the spiritual power of living your dharma. They hadn't realized that power of actually being connected to exactly how you are meant to live. And so what most of us do is we do just unko kush karna. Chalo, they say not to do it. Okay. No problem. You must know best. And we lose that opportunity in our lives. So dharma means also embrace, embody your truth. It may not be the same as someone else's truth, and that's okay. There is such a gorgeous variety in life. Go through any flower garden, go through any fruit orchard, travel through the mountains, travel through nature. Sit in an airport and just watch all the people. And what you'll see is just variety, variety, variety. It means God loves variety, loves diversity. So in your lives and in your children's lives and in the lives of all of those who look up to you for wisdom, for guidance, for mentoring, make sure that you don't impose your agenda, that you don't assume that what was right for you is necessarily right for someone else, but that you actually water the seeds of them. We're not here to dictate. what type of tree will grow. We are here to water the seeds, here to bring the sun, so that whatever seed that is, it will sprout, it will grow. And that's the best way to both live our individual Dharma and also help our youth really embrace their Dharma. And lastly, just going back to the beautiful mantra that Puja Swamiji had given me. Engage yourself in karma under the shade of Dharma with that awareness of Brahma. And of course, it means an awareness of the divine, an awareness of the supreme. And that takes us back to what I was saying in the beginning about when Bhagawan Krishna says, Mam nu smart. Remember me, yes, as in remember me as Bhagawan Krishna, but also remember that truly and ultimately, there is nothing but God. Nothing but God. And that means that our individual stresses and strains and problems and difficulties and challenges and desires, they're nothing. And I don't mean to undermine it, but I mean to help you see the truth that we've been given. Remember God. That awareness of the divine, that awareness of the perfection of the divine, the infinite nature of the divine, makes us realize that getting stuck in traffic or even getting fired from our job or our kid failing an exam, they're just momentary blips on this particular scene in this entire divine drama in which we've been given our own sacred roles to play. So don't lose yourself in the role. Don't forget that you're not the role, that you are the actor playing the role. We forget. We get caught up. I am this, I am that. I need this, I need that. Jaise मैं चाहती हूँ, जब मैं चाहती हूँ, जिससे मैं चाहती हूँ, जिस तरह से मैं चाहती हूँ. And we believe that that's true. As I think everyone should think. But we forget that they're just blips. And we are here as the actor on this particular scene, playing this particular role. But then the curtain will fall. We'll take off the costume. We'll burn the script. And then we'll play another role next time. And the point is not to forget who you are in the role. The point is not that your face should get glued to the mask that you're wearing. The point is that at every moment, playing that role, we remember and remember and remember that we are not the role. We are soul with this incarnation. And as Bhagawan Krishna says, Mam nu smart, it means remember me, but it also means remember you, the real you, your true self, because that true self is one with the divine. So we remember God, remember ourselves, and we fight the war. We do our duties. And it's just as applicable, just as important, just as powerful today as on the battleground of Kurukshetra. I want to conclude here so that we have time to take questions from all of you. So if anyone has a question, please feel free.
Thank you so much, Swaminiji. That was divine. That was absolutely wonderful. I think this was a great lesson for us, especially today when the world is going through such turbulent times and we are all panicking and being hopeless and feeling useless and, having all these concerns. So it's always great and, to hear from someone like you, to hear that it's a divine play. Everything there is the creator, there is the divine presence in everything, and that we are just tools in his hands. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. There are a few questions in the chat side. Can I read them out to you? Is that okay?
Sure, of course, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so just okay, so the first question I have is, why is there suffering in the body when I am Brahman?
Ah, beautiful. So we've been given these bodies in order to move through our karmic journey, right? If we understand the Leela of the divine, and then we understand this cycle of birth and death in which we are taking newer and newer bodies with each life to get closer and closer to that liberation, that moksha, that self-realization or God realization. Well, the body has a lot of components to it, all of which are important. We have hands, we have legs, we have eyes, we have a nose, we have ears, all of this. The body has evolved. Divine creation does not mean that evolution didn't happen. It just means that evolution happened under the divine plan, that it wasn't random. But it's not that we don't believe in evolution. So if you look at the way that the human body has evolved, it's actually evolved to survive. As far as the body is concerned, there's one agenda and one agenda only. I should survive long enough to make a lot of babies. That is the basically single focus of the physical body. Because if I make a lot of babies, my DNA will reproduce. That is how the species will survive. And that is what, over all of the years of evolution, we have evolved to do. And physical body takes tens of millions of years to change. Our society is changing every decade. So on the one hand, I've had people ask, well, God, with all the overpopulation, why should we still want to reproduce so much? The issue is that our physical bodies haven't caught up. We're still in bodies that are based on what life was like. Not just thousands, but millions of years ago. And one of the important pieces of all of that is, in order to keep the body healthy and strong and alive, I need to have pain. Because what pain does is it teaches me that there is a problem in the body. If I touch a hot stove and I don't feel the pain of the fire, I'm going to burn my hand. That pain of the stove is actually very, very beneficial because it makes me immediately pull my hand back. And if I've burned myself once, the memory of that pain is so much that I'm not going to touch a stove again. When people get very, very old and they get paralyzed or in a coma or unable to move, they develop in bed these things called bed sores, right? And you have to rotate them and move them so that they don't develop bed sores. Well, the reason that most of us don't develop it is long before we would develop a bed sore, we would develop pain. There'd be a pain in the body, an indication that says, Adi, move a little bit. You've been in the same position too long, move. You know that if you sit in the same place, in the same position without moving at all, for a certain period of time, your body's going to start to hurt. And if you don't respond, you end up with knee damage and hip damage and ankle damage. If you get on the treadmill at the gym and you're running and you don't eventually develop pain, you'd run yourself into the ground. So pain is not the enemy. Pain is actually that which is there to help us survive. The dilemma, of course, comes that it arises at times that I don't want it to arise. But recognize pain actually as your friend. And recognize it just as a sensation. Hot, cold, wet. Hot, cold, wet, dry. Excuse me. We have all kinds of different sensations in the body. And we may prefer hot to cold, but we're able to survive in the cold. We just notice it. We may prefer dry to wet, but we're able to enjoy taking a shower, a dip in Ganga. We just notice it. Ah, wetness. Ah, coldness. Ah, wind. And in the same way, pain gives us the opportunity to simply develop the ability to be aware. Ah, pain. Ah, pain. Instead of trying to push it away. There's a reason that we're taught that rag and dvesh, this grabbing and aversion, are such profound and powerful hurdles on our spiritual path. Well, that's true, not just for things in the world. It's true for also in our body. As we push away pain, as we develop an aversion to pain, that aversion makes the pain worse. That desire to push it away makes the pain worse. It turns the pain into an enemy. So if you've got pain that you can change, by all means, do whatever you need to do to change it. And if you have pain that you can't change, use it as an opportunity to anchor in awareness. Ah, pain. But you are not the pain. You are Brahman. And to just remember that. Yes, there is pain in the body, but I am not the body.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. That was fantastic. Thank you. So the next question is, why are there so many secrets about the theories and philosophies and mantras and rituals? God is all-pervading, residing in everyone's heart. He knows everything. Why the secrets?
So most of it isn't secret. Most of it is there for all. There are some mantras, some pujas that are not so widely shared, some practices. And the reason is that mantra, puja, these things are energy, they're power. It's like if you go into a chemistry lab and you get your crucible and you get your Bunsen burner, you can make things happen in that crucible. There is a power, an alchemical power. And you can make something beautiful, and you can make something really damaging. And in the same way, there is a power with mantra, a power with different types of pujas, that if in the wrong hands, could end up creating situations that are not ideal. And so for that, you need to be under the guidance of an enlightened master. You need to be initiated into it by a guru who hopefully would be able to see this person is ready, this person is not. But that's only a very few things. Most of it is all open right there for you. Because yes, it is for all.
Thank you. That's a beautiful analogy, Swamiji. That's going to help me a lot to kind of process it too, between the school, the undergraduate, graduate, and PhD levels, right, in a chemistry lab. You know, we are all in kindergarten. Yeah. So, okay. So the third question is, when natural calamities can come all of a sudden and can kill thousands of people at once, why not thousands of people get enlightened all at once and change this world? Why such a slow process? Okay.
Well, let's get started. We are the ones. Every single person today who is asking this question, we are the ones. It's not up to someone else. God has made it very clear in all the scriptures that God is not going to come down with a magic wand and just enlighten us. That is not the point. The point is for us all to wake up and realize, to break free of that which is keeping us stuck. One of my favorite stories, analogies about this is the story of the village in India that was overrun with monkeys. As you know, monkeys are rampant here. And yet we are a non-violent people. And so the people were trying to figure out what to do to free this village of the monkeys. And so they took coconuts and they hollowed out the coconut. And inside the coconut, they put something that monkeys love, a sweet, a piece of fruit. But here was the key. They made the hole in the coconut just big enough for an empty hand to go in and too small for a closed fist to come out. So the monkeys would reach their hand in, grab the sweet, and then they were stuck. Now, going back to evolution, going back to Darwin, we know that actually the apes are our closest genetic relatives. We would like to believe, therefore, that they were smart enough to just let go, to realize, oh, fuzgay, and to let go of whatever kept them stuck, take their hand out of the coconut, and go on about their day. But they did not. And remember, they are our closest genetic relatives because they all continued to hold on to that sweet, to that piece of fruit. And when you've got 4 legs, but one of them is stuck in a coconut, you can't run, you can't climb trees, you can't do anything. And so they were able to catch these monkeys and take them back into the forest. Now, I share that because that which is making us stuck, that which is keeping us from enlightenment, is something we're holding on to. Some attachment, some expectation, some desire, some vision, some belief, some situation, some history, some anger, some grudge, whatever it may be. But that thing that you think is so important, that's actually what's keeping you stuck. And so it's a beautiful question because, yeah, why not? It's up to us. We know the power of Sangha. It's why we are told, have satsang, be in that presence and be in that presence together. Meditating on our own is incredibly deep and incredibly powerful. Meditating together in groups is even more powerful. You're already coming together. Come together more. Expand. Tell your friends. Make everyone join. Have that time together. Commit to practices. Commit to living according to Dharma. Because I can tell you one thing. If you're lying and you're stealing and you're cheating in your day, when you sit down to meditate, it's not going to come. Sleep won't even come. Forget meditation. So you've got to change how you live. so that when you sit down to meditate, the mind is clear. The heart is clear. Change how you live. And then let us together. Absolutely. That's what we need. More and more people on this path, more and more people getting enlightened. You can start. Bring more and more and more people together. That's all it takes.
Thank you, Mataji. The next question is, does dharma mean always doing the righteous thing?
Absolutely. Dharma is always doing the righteous thing. Absolutely. Now, what that righteous thing is, though, may vary from situation to situation. There's not necessarily a cookie cutter approach that says this is the only way, right? I mean, if I say to you, is taking a knife and plunging it into someone's chest a righteous thing? Well, I imagine that you would all say no. But if you're a doctor and the person whose chest you're plunging it into has had a heart attack or needs bypass surgery, and that knife is a scalpel, it's most definitely a righteous thing. Hitting someone is wrong. We know that. But if you're walking down the street and you see someone attacking a child, an old lady, and you yell at them and they don't listen, and so you finally get closer and you just give them one hit to get them to let them go, let go of the child, let go of the woman, we all know that's acceptable. In the same way that the whole Bhagavad Gita is predicated upon the idea of fighting for Dharma. Normally, is war right? No. Is killing right? No. And when it's for Dharma, it's absolutely right. So yes, Dharma means always doing that which is righteous. But righteous is dependent upon the situation. And so we have to ask ourselves, this is why we have sadhana, so that we are aware in every moment, what is the dharmic thing in this moment? Because only then can we know.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Would you like to do the concluding prayer?
Sure. And also just to mention, I do, as I mentioned, a satsang here every evening, and we live stream it, and we take in questions from people joining online. So feel free to join the live satsang. You can send in questions live, or you can send in questions in advance and watch later. If you can't join in that exact moment, it stays on YouTube and Facebook. So feel free to send in questions by email or on social media or whatever is best for you, and we will take them up in satsang.
Thank you.
Asatoma sadgamaya tamsoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Oh God, lead us from the falsehood of separation into the truth of oneness. Lead us from the darkness of ignorance in which we suffer and bring suffering unto others, into the light of wisdom in which we end suffering. Lead us from the false identification as this physical body that is born and changes and perishes, to the true identification as the immortal, eternal soul. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.